City of St. Pete Beach for April 30th, 2025. If everybody can please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Member Causey.
Here.
Member Core.
Here.
Vice Chair Garshaw.
Here.
Member Small.
Here.
Chair Chase.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great. We'll start today with an approval of the agenda. Are there any changes, Kristen?
No, Madam Chair, no changes.
No changes. Any questions or concerns from the board on the agenda for today? Nope. If not, all in favor? Yep.
Aye.
Aye.
Moving on, can we do an audience swear-in, please, City Clerk?
I can. Anyone who will be speaking to the board or making a representation will need to be sworn in. Do you swear or affirm that the information or factual representation that you are about to give or present to the board is truthful? Yes. Thank you.
Thanks. The next item would be audience comments. This would be a time for anybody here today that would like to speak on an item that's not on today's agenda. The floor is yours. If there is an item that you would like to speak on that is on the agenda, you can grab a yellow card and provide it to the clerk, and she'll call your name at the point of that item. The yellow cards are in the back left corner. Thanks.
Tom, you wouldn't need to do one.
Oh, okay. Only if you had a neighbor or
Yeah.
someone that was concerned about it. Okay.
Yeah, if it's your case, you'll have the opportunity to speak for sure. All right, then we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. Did everybody have a chance to review last month's minutes? Any requests for edits? No? Can we do roll call, please?
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the March 26th Board of Adjustment minutes as written.
Thanks.
I'll second.
Member Core.
Yes.
Vice Chair Garshaw.
Yes.
Member Small.
Yes.
Member Causey.
Yes.
Chair Chase.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great. We have two action items for today. The first is case number 25040. Brandon?
Good afternoon, Brandon Berry, planner. If we could pull up the PowerPoint. So the Board of Adjustment is a recommending body for subdivision plats. These do ultimately go on to the City Commission for both preliminary and then final plat review. And we do typically bring these to the Board of Adjustment at the preliminary plat stage. This is for the property of 5390 Gulf Boulevard. It's known as the Serrata Resort property. We have Scott Gilner with Kimley Horn present. They are seeking a two-tract replat of this property, as I'll get into in just a moment. So you can see here a survey of the property. This comprises all the property that is currently used for the Serrata Resort development. This is also the property that was approved last year for redevelopment with the JW Marriott and Hampton Inn project. This is a survey of the property as it exists today, and all of this land will be part of the replat. You can see here the preliminary plat without improvements. It's a fairly simple replat. It'll be two tracts, one to the north, tract A1, and then to the south, tract A2. I've spoken with the agent. They have expressed that this is for financing purposes, not directly related to the redevelopment, but being undertaken for financing. And this can be conducted separately from any kind of development. This is something they would be able to pursue independent of a development project. You can see here the preliminary plat. These are the lines that would be approved should this plat be approved by the City Commission for final plat, showing the existing development on the property. You can see the lines aren't necessarily clean the way that you would see them with a typical tract subdivision or something like that. Again, this is being undertaken for financing purposes, which the agent can give more detail on if needed. Staff has reviewed this request. As I mentioned before, it's a fairly simple request. We had a few technical requests. When this comes forward for final plat, we will have a licensed surveyor review to make sure that it meets all the requirements of Florida statutes. Replatting is generally a pretty technical undertaking. One item that was not commented on in the agenda report was staff's request for a unified site plan covenant. That is something that the applicant has provided as of yesterday, so it's something we'll work through with our attorney prior to the final plat. That's to make sure that these 2 tracks will continue to function to either support the development that remains on the properties or support any kind of future forthcoming development. We will just have that cleared and ready to move forward for the final plat. So we have no recommendations on this plat. We ask that the board take action to recommend approval or denial of this plat to the City Commission, but as I mentioned before, we have no basis to recommend a denial for this. I'm happy to answer any questions. We do have the engineer for this project present as well.
Any questions for Brandon?
You're saying these are the 2 motions, but it's not a contingent on your unified site plan?
That's something we've received, and it's something we did ask they have prepared for the final plat. This will move on to preliminary plat review with the City Commission, and in the interim, we will work with the attorney's office to review that covenant.
Okay.
Mhm.
Because this motion is simply to approve the preliminary plat as opposed to.
To recommend the preliminary, yes.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Would the applicant or representative like to share?
How are you all today? Scott Gilner with Kimley Horn and Associates, 655 North Franklin Street, Tampa, Florida, 3362602. I'm here to answer any questions you may have, but I think there were five questions or comments, and we're fine with all of them that are on the plat now, so happy to answer any questions you may have.
The 5 questions, is that from, would you like to address that, Brandon, just so we have an understanding for what?
We had a few minor technical comments independent of the request for the site plan covenant that we had shared with the applicant earlier this month at TRC. They were largely just minor comments from statutory requirements that are typically addressed at the final stage anyway. The applicant has responded to those comments, and I'm fine with his comments. So.
Okay, thanks. Does the board have any questions for the applicant?
I have some questions for the
Yeah, before I put-
applicant. Scott, you said your name was?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are each of these 3 hotels, the Serrata, the JW Marriott, and the Hampton, are they owned by different companies, or are they all owned by the same company?
I mean, I can answer it. So I think 2 parts to this. One, there aren't 3 hotels right now. There's just one Serrata Resort. We're talking about the future hotels, but in reality, they are owned by the same company. So they don't exist today, but,
Well, Marriott doesn't own Hampton Inn.
well, Marriott doesn't own Serrata either.
I understand. That's why I'm asking the question.
But they're owned by the landowner. So they're going to develop a flag. So this is for preliminary plat. This really isn't to CUP. I don't mind answering the question, but it's not really related to the preliminary plat.
So the plats are independent of any development that's in the future done. So it's a fair question, but in regards to what we're reviewing today, it's in relation to the property as it exists today, not in contingent upon any future development, is my understanding.
We're
That's
not even talking about the fact of building anything else there?
It's not relevant to this review right now. That's a separate conversation and part of the CUP process.
Well, the reason I'm asking about that, but I guess it's not relevant, is would there be, can you get financing if this is all, I just don't quite understand how all this works. I mean, I'm very familiar with the property.
Yeah, maybe.
Is part of the proposal to take down part of the Serrata?
So for the record, Kevin Reale, Western Zebra Miller, 401 East Jackson Street in Tampa. The reason for the platting is for financing purposes, which is essentially so that we can have a legal description and a parcel so that a construction loan can be taken out. However, the property can be subdivided the way that it is now. So the CUP is approved. We are waiting for certain portions of redevelopment, but certain portions of redevelopment are available by right. For example, there's a process right now underway to redo the restaurant and redo the pool. That has nothing to do with the CUP. So this is a step in the process for financing purposes. It will align with development when development goes forward, but The reason we're not focused on the development is because this is a ministerial process independent of the CUP approval. And so I think that's what everyone's trying to get at with their answers, is that the subdivision is so that it can be financed, and so you can put the financing on one part and not on the other part. And so the ownership may not even change. It may just be for a loan. But that's a step in that process to prepare for that. But it doesn't relate to the CUP directly.
Could you explain to them and to the public how you intend to address the subdivision lot line that runs partially through one of the buildings?
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
that was,
So the ownership won't change by the plating, first and foremost, and then that's what that unified site plan covenant is. So they come under a lot of different names depending on what jurisdiction you're in, but generally speaking, this is a document that says this piece of property is a single zoning lot. So it could be 2 lots, it could be a dozen lots. I mean, I'm just speaking hypothetically here, not talking about this property, but this type of document says that a collection of lots is a single zoning lot. And those are important when you have a master plan of some level. So the CUP, for example, would be master plan, but existing development counts the same way too. So right now, I can't remember going back, I think at one point it was the Holiday Inn before it was both the Serrata, but there's the 2 buildings that are there now. So if we draw that line where it is right now, it would not comply with zoning. And so we do the unified site plan covenant, because then both lots together are a zoning lot and they do comply with zoning. And so that's what that requirement is for. What it does in the future is if you do end up having multiple owners, which, that's not anticipated, but if you have multiple owners, those owners, as the city attorney can explain, would have to cooperate. So those owners would have to deal with the development on their property as a single zoning lot, regardless of the property lines. It is possible if you were to scrape the lot and then subdivide it, you wouldn't need that, because you could potentially design a lot that will comply with zoning. But that's not typical for something where you're going to have a site plan controlled district. Now that said, that unification works before or after redevelopment. I think I'm being redundant there, but just to be clear, it makes sure that the zoning works as it exists today, and it makes sure that the zoning would work after development under the CUP.
It's a very complicated project.
it's very complicated.
But I think if we kind of just are mindful of the portion that we're looking at today, it's actually pretty straightforward. And from my understanding, it's gone through technical review. They've addressed, the minor issues that were there. The staff feels comfortable with this preliminary process. So I have, I appreciate it being brought forth to our board to be able to review and be in the loop. But I think it's in a pretty strong position to be able to be presented to commission.
Forward thinking on their part, that just in case in this litigious society that something should happen, they're not all attached to each other.
Yeah, I mean, if it helps for summary purposes, essentially the request is to create 2 parcels under state statute and to tie the properties together so that we still continue to comply with zoning.
Are there 3 now, and you're reducing it to 2?
No, there's 1 now.
1 now,
Yeah.
and you want to make it 2, but not 3.
So, I mean, long-term, Scott, has there been any discussion on doing another one later? Yeah, so that's for depending on how.
My understanding is if we're putting 2 more hotels there, it's 1 now, you want to make it 2, then would 2, mathematically speaking, 2 hotels have to be on 1 site?
You could, yeah, so you could put all 3 hotels on 1 site. That's this subdivision is going to ultimately be for financing purposes. So they could be financing that second hotel with cash. I haven't talked with them about that. Or they could do it with cash, or they could do a loan under their own owner. I just don't know the answer to that. But I know that they're not wanting to finance the whole development as one. And then, well, I think that I'd be speculating if I said more than that. I'm already speculating some.
Any additional questions? Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you.
At this point, we'll close the open discussion and revert to board conversation. I think I've kind of shared my stance. Does anybody else have any?
And I think I have to, I think I can see what.
Yeah, I listened to the technical review committee, so it seems like this is fairly administrative.
Do we have a motion?
Do we need to disclose any ex parte? I didn't know.
Any, I'm not sure, City Attorney, is this a case where ex parte is relevant, or?
We swear the witnesses, and if you have an ex parte, then it would be helpful to disclose it. That way, if it's determined to be quasi-judicial, then we've complied with the rules. Most of the time, they think of Platts as legislative, but you can go ahead and do the ex parte to be on the safe side.
Okay. Member Small?
Other than listening to our technical review committee.
None for me.
I just talked to Brandon about the details of this.
Commissioner Core, sorry.
Any ex
I
parte?
didn't hear you verbalize a ex parte.
No.
Thank you.
Well, I'll make a
Head
motion.
shaking doesn't work because they have to pick it up at the clerk's minutes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to recommend approval of preliminary plat number 25040, City Commission.
I'll second.
Vice Chair Garshaw,
Yes.
Member Small,
Yes.
Member Causey,
Yes.
Member Core,
No.
Chair Chase.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1.
Thank you, guys. Moving on to our second case for today, case number 25042. Kristen?
If I could have the PowerPoint, please. Okay, Kristen Coleman, Senior Planner. And we're moving on to variance case number 25042, located at 1346 Boca Ciega Isle Drive. Have a practical difficulty variance request. Andres Aroja for Thomas and Rita Sue Memorin. Revocable Living Trust request a variance for the proposed construction of a second floor addition, which includes a 9-foot 2-inch by 17-foot second floor roofed rear deck with a proposed rear yard setback of 14 feet 10.5 inches where 20 feet is required, and looking for relief from Land Development Code Section 9.7A4. Okay, here's an aerial view of the site. It's outlined in red, and this property is located within the RU2 residential zoning district. Here's a current survey of the property. It's an interior waterfront lot. It's improved with a single-family residence, a paver driveway and patio areas, a pool and spa, as well as a dock with boat lift. And here is a survey with the proposed improvements. You will note at the southern, the rear of the property on the southern side of the lot in the gray. So a portion of the proposed second floor covered rear deck is located within the 20-foot required rear yard setback. Just more on the requests that they're looking for. Currently, they do have a pre-existing non-conforming setback, and that is of 15 feet, and that was granted by the Board of Adjustment in 2015 for a rear yard encroachment to allow for the construction of a rear addition. In researching that file, they originally came in for a 20-foot rear yard, or I'm sorry, a 10-foot rear yard setback. The board contemplated it, asked for them to come back, and they had a 15 rear yard setback, which was ultimately approved by the board. And then today they're asking for a 14-foot, 10.5 inch rear yard setback, which is a little bit greater of an encroachment than was previously granted. So just for some background information for the board. Just bringing you onto the property. Noticing was completed as required, legal ad published, and notices were mailed on April 16th and sign posted on April 22nd. And this is from the front property line, from the street. You can see if you look on to the right, that addition that peaks up, that was the addition that was approved in 2015. Going to the rear of the property, looking south, the new addition would measure about to the edge of the paver patio that you can currently see. And here's just another view of that rear addition that was granted in 2015 with a 15-foot rear yard setback.
How close to the pool does this go?
So, get my trusty scale out here. 30. So as far as the existing addition, that looks from about 9 feet from the that addition that is to the north, and with the proposed, it'd be about 7 feet to the spa area. So it's pretty
coming off this is coming off the taller building?
No, this is coming off, if you're looking at this picture, it would be on the right-hand side.
The smaller building?
Yes. In this area, right here. So it's essentially going up on the existing portion, from what I understand, of the dwelling, and then also extending out to where you see the edge of the paver patios.
So those trees will be gone?
Correct.
But if it was set back into the home and built straight up, then there would not be any need for a variance? Or is there?
Yes, currently, it does meet the setback requirement.
The current home does.
The current home does, correct.
And the difference is it's hanging out over this.
Yes.
But if it was in flush with the current home, then there would be no variance.
Correct.
Okay.
Or
I think it's the deck, right?
It is the deck that, and I have a
Okay?
floor plan in here. So in my staff findings report, I do request that the applicant provide some testimony and respond to clarify the specific relief being requested. The submitted plans do show a setback of 14 feet, 10.5 inches, while the application stated 14 feet. So I just want clarification on that. And if the board does not grant the variance, the applicant should also address whether there is an alternative location for the balcony and/or the stairs that would not require relief, and whether these elements are essential to the project or more of a preferred feature. So here is kind of this one slide that we were kind of getting to, where the existing addition on the north side you can see, and on the right side is where that proposed covered second floor roof deck with stairs coming out and around. And I also included the floor plan. So with the setback line on the bottom portion, that's the 20-foot setback requirement. And you can see a portion of that, it's kind of halfway through. It does have a curve to it because the property is curved in the rear, of what is within that required setback and what would meet it.
Yeah, could you kind of point that out in that, where?
So the dashed line that goes
Yes, I see
through
it.
the stairs, that's the 20-foot required setback.
Okay,
So the house currently meets it, you can see, and he's going up on, or they, not he, are going up on the existing first floor and then want to add on with that second floor roof deck.
okay. And so both of so they're meeting it on, I don't know if this is, what's north, south, east, west on this
Yes.
one?
I'm getting a little confused too.
So to the north would be to the left, south is to the
Okay,
right.
So on the
And
south
the water
side,
is,
no issues with the south side?
correct.
Got
Nope,
it.
It meets the side yard setback requirement,
That's
correct.
where that dash line is? Okay,
The one with the curve that represents the rear property line.
okay. So it's just the staging of the stairs that have to,
Yeah, the stairs and that portion of that. And then also in there, it looks to be like they're adding a fire.
Is the only thing behind this house, because we could talk about the rear, is the only thing after this house water?
yes.
Correct.
So there's no other person involved and,
Nope. And if we can go, I can go back and I can show you.
no, you
on-
don't need to. I just
Okay. The aerial.
double checking because I don't, if
Yep.
there's no one back there, I would care.
And I just wanted to also point out, like, with the floor plan, they have the partial second floor plan, that it does appear that they have a deck coming off the center as well portion. Of course, that meets requirements. I just wanted to give you the overall elevation, the floor plan, so you can see it kind of all together.
Okay. I think that curved line is really helpful to see kind of the
Where-
component, like
the
it's a
portion.
very small portion of the total project that actually falls within the setbacks.
So just looking at this, is the deck that's across the two sides connected, or there's a break in them? I'm trying to make sure I'm interpreting the plan.
There is no connection.
And we can
It's not one congruent, okay.
No.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And there's no stair off the other one.
Correct.
And Kristen, we did have, it looked like 3 letters in support.
We did have 3 letters in support that were included in the packet. We've received no additional. And I would like to note it's on either side of them and also across the waterway. So I believe 18 letters were sent out and we got 3 replies back.
So just to clarify that, the neighbor on the north side and south side both sent in letters. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Kristen. Would the applicant like to come forward and share your case?
Hi, my name is Thomas Memmering, and thank you very much for your consideration. I do appreciate it. I'm here mostly because of the flood. I mean, we're all dealing with it, obviously. And as we stayed in the 400 square foot of the other addition, the original addition that we put on when we first moved here, we saw that we were going to spend a lot of money to rebuild, and it could come right back, because we've been flooded 4 times in the last 4 years. Mostly in the pool. We've kept it at the house until this one, until Helene. Just really appreciate you guys considering this and all the work that you've done, Kristen. I really appreciate that. And mostly the reason why we're building the deck back there is it's our only evac other than the stairway, which will go down into the lower home, because it's going to be indoor stairway going up into the second floor. And most of the second floor will be all waterproofed up to 4 feet. No kitchens down there. We're trying to make it mostly like a pool table, karaoke, just kind of a fun room down there, and we'll be living upstairs. So if we get a flood like this again, it'll be just pressure washing and cleaning up, and no more having to live we've all been through it. So
Yes, we have.
thank you for your consideration. And if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
There were 2 questions that we wanted to make sure we addressed. One was whether the variance request is for the 14 or the 14 and 10 inches. I think there was a discrepancy between the application and the plan submitted.
If we could look at that picture of the actual back of the house showing the deck back there, not the deck, but the patio back there, that one there. There's 3 feet, and a little over 3.5 feet from that glass door. It stays in the variance, and then it's about 6 feet. 3 and 6 is 9, so it's 9 feet deck. So we're asking for about 6 to 7 feet into the variance. So we've got, how many feet are we asking for on the application?
So
14, so 5 feet. So yeah.
So the explanation of request was just construct a second floor covered rear deck 9 by 17, 28 feet high with entry stairs with proposed 14-foot rear yard setback where 20 feet is required.
So 3 plus 6 is 9. That's how deep the deck is. So we're going 6 feet into the variance. And 6.
Well, I think what I'm asking is not just the encroachment of how that, yes, that is a consideration. It's just what is 20 feet, I can tell you, is required. One document says 14, and the other end, like your building plans say the setback from the seawall is 14, 10 and a half, because that's a difference of 10 and a half inches, which is considerable in my eyes when you're asking for relief.
And I understand,
Yeah.
and I'm fine with we could go to an exact number if you wanted to, just make it 15 feet.
Most likely,
It needs to be the exact number you need, because it needs to be the minimum amount.
Okay.
15, if you're asking for a 15-foot.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
It would be a 5 foot, there'll be 15 left. So let's stay with the larger one then, which would be it would be 15 feet, right? So it's 14, 10 and a half, or 15? Is that what?
Your plans, and I tend to go with the building plans just because there's more detail in them rather than just something that was typed in. But I just wanted clarification that it is 14 feet, 10 and a half inches is that rear yard setback that you're
Yes,
proposing.
because those plans are the ones we're going by now.
Okay.
And I'm sorry,
No, that's fine. It's complicated.
Yeah.
And then the other question was around, whether you looked at designs that would not require this variance as a.
We did. We did extensively, actually, to find a way to get out of the upstairs without going back into the house for evac, and also just to get out of the master bedroom into the backyard without going back to the front of the house and out the back.
The other building with the pool is your house also, correct?
But they're not connected. That
I
actual,
understand that, but why would you live in this one when you have the other one that's really
it's
tall?
only 400 square feet.
Oh, it is?
It was an office.
It's hard to tell from here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually living there with my wife and my 3 dogs, 400 square feet. It's,
You're a very close family.
yes. Luckily, me and my wife get along very well. So, we're there for another year. This project will take at least a year, because after we finish this, as you well know, we have to go through engineering and then application.
How big will the residence be then that you're building?
The entire residence will be about 5,800, including the 400 upstairs.
No, I was just talking about the new one that you're putting on top.
Oh, it's 1,600 square feet.
Okay.
The new addition is.
So it does look like, based on the plan provided, the proposed primary residence would be 3,934 square feet. I don't know if that includes
Well, the residence not that big.
That would be all of it.
that all, okay.
Yeah, because right now we're only at about 28.
Yep.
So it shouldn't be a sore thumb or sticking up. I mean, the front of the house will still look like a one-story because we're building on, the second story is going on more of the back of the house. And so the windows, we can see in the picture there, the proposed drawings. The back will be facing the water, but from the front, it won't look that much different other than that addition that's already there will look like it kind of comes across the back of the house. But we're not building 2 stories on the front, just kind of like the main house, because the front is mostly garage and covered porches, and then there's 1 bedroom over there that won't be part of the addition, so.
It won't be a bedroom anymore either, you said, right?
No.
Right.
I think you were cut off too. You were trying to answer the question about exploring other options that would have
Yeah,
not require a variance.
everything was either going to go into the variance on the side or way too close to the pool. So we can't really build a stairway or anything off of the second floor without getting either into or over the pool or into another variance.
Okay, or like a tighter spiral staircase?
Well, we have a spiral staircase. My wife has a real problem with vertigo and she's scared of heights, so she won't even go up the spiral staircase that we have to the 3rd floor on that other addition, so.
I'm not sure the spiral staircases work for the evac code
Good point.
as a secondary.
Yeah, I don't know that this was about evac code.
It wasn't completely, but it helped us design
Oh, sure.
in a way, but this isn't about an evac code. I mean, I'm sure we could find another way to get an evac, but we wanted a small deck back there, off the master, and it made sense to put the evac there, so.
Thanks. Any other questions for the applicant?
So it's 1410 and a half.
Correct.
Now that's 1410 and a half is what will be the setback.
That is
That's not what we're
correct.
asking for, right?
Yeah, understood.
That is what you're asking for today.
That is what you're requesting. So 20 feet, think going from
Yeah,
your back property line to where
Yeah.
you're
1410 and a
calling,
half.
where 20 feet is
where
normally
20 feet
required.
Is required.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you again for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much. Given there's nobody else here today, I assume that we don't have anybody looking to speak on behalf or against, so we will close public comment and open to board discussion.
Well, if neither neighbor objects and there's nothing but water in the back, why not?
Actually, let's do ex parte before we, formal discussion. Member Small?
No.
Nothing. I can see this property from my backyard, so I'm very familiar with the property, but I've not had any conversations or discussions.
I tried to get to the property and got lost. So.
None.
No? Okay. All right, sorry. I knew that we were going to start to get cases that were in this situation, right, that were as a result of resiliency. And I think we're now at the stage where people are getting to the process where they have those plans and have made those decisions. But this is kind of the first scenario. I think he's done, a very extensive job trying to come up with creative ways. I commend the fact that he's spoken with his neighbors and they're in support. I think you made a good point that it's a backyard, so it's just water, there. If anything, he's just lessening his ability to have more, green space. So I would be very supportive of approving the
And even
request.
there, I don't think it's lessening the green space as I understand it, because the pavers are already there.
Right.
So it's
Exactly,
not
yeah.
actually impacting that, which is great, because
Yeah.
I think that's also important to maintain. So,
My dogs love our grass, we're keeping all.
good. Yes, I would concur with the feedback you just provided. I don't have any other thoughts or questions about this one.
Well, based on all the evidence and the letters from the neighbors, I suggest the board approve case number 25042 as proposed.
I'll second that.
Member Small?
Yes.
Member Causey?
Yes.
Member Core?
Yes.
Vice Chair Garshaw?
Sorry, was there a comment?
I did have a staff recommendation for a condition as an as-built plan at the
Okay,
end.
I'd like to amend the motion to also include staff recommendation, submission of a final as-is-built, is that the one?
As-built survey?
As-built survey showing all dimensions and setbacks to be reviewed and approved by zoning prior to final inspections.
I second.
Okay.
What are we voting on?
We're voting on the amended,
Amended motion.
we have a first and second. We redo roll call, please.
Okay. Member Causey?
Yes.
Member Core?
Yes.
Member Vice Chair Garshaw?
Yes.
Member Small?
Yes.
Chair Chase?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Congratulations.
Good luck with the rebuild. All right. Any additional items for discussion? City Attorney? You know what? Can you just-
Nothing today, thank you.
Okay. Kristen, how does next month look?
It's looking light. I think we may have one application right now that's circling. And just with the as-built survey, I generally put that in there as a condition. It's just to pretty much verify that what you guys approved, they actually construct it. It's just a measure to double check.
Which is
Otherwise,
super smart, because we've had people come in here
Yeah.
with 5 inches wrong, and then you get to go through this fun process again.
yeah.
Or something along those lines, like
Correct.
we did see recently
Yes, we have.
with the garage, I believe. So, yeah, let's not do that. Good.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, meeting adjourned.